Hey guys, HuzzyGames bringing you another video and a welcome to the patch notes of what's technically the last patch of the year, 12.23. I believe there won't be a 12.24. I think the next one will be patch 13.0, but we'll see. So, just to mention, as you can see here, this is going to be a long patch as many of us in Riot will be taking a break for the end of December. We'll likely have a mid-patch updates before we head out and when we get back again. So there won't be another patch, but anything that kind of is broken or outliers, they'll kind of fix, but part of this patch, and then we'll get the new season patch. So, kind of a big one. So, but we're getting nerfs to Lilia, Maud, Shyvana, Syndra, Trundle, and Yumi, and buffs to Amumu, Cho'Gath, K'Sante, Kayn, Malphite, Maokai, Sion, Tam, Zac, and Zary. We're getting adjustments also to Dr. Mundo and Kassadin, and we're getting some item adjustments to Hydra, Sunfire, and the Jungle. We're having new skins of our Winter Blessed skins. They don't really do Christmas skins anymore, but it is Winter Blessed, which is not too bad. And Mordekaiser is the upcoming Ashen Knight skin, so that will be with the, continuing the Ashen Knight theme. It'd be interesting to see what theme they pick next year. Just reminding everybody that there's no longer gemstone skins. They're having a set thematic per year that they swap to, and this year's was Ashen Knight, which is pretty cool. And these skins will be arriving December 8th. And we might do a loot video maybe on that, but again, the loot's been a bit bugged recently. Aram updates. So I'm not going to go over this too much, but there is an Aram clash this upcoming weekend. I think I am playing on the Saturday of it, so I will be streaming and recording that, and I might upload a video of that. But what I'll probably do, even if we play all 3 rounds, I might condense all games in just one video. So you might have like an hour-and-a-half video or something of all ARAM clash. But you're getting Frost Gates, Falling Towers, Bridge Repairs, a Battle Boost, Quality Updates, and S rank of chests upgrade. It's a bit of change. It's not too bad. And you're getting some changes there. Right, let's get into the actual changes themselves, though. Items. Moss Stomper. It's a bit bugged because it's going over the text. But Moss Stomper has come out the gates as one of the strongest jungle companions introduced in preseason. So they're just nerfing it a bit. So the tenacity buff is no longer 3 seconds. It's 1.5. And it's now a tenacity type is item. Additive with item tenacity, it's moving to champion tenacity instead. But that is ultimately a nerf. Ravenous Hydra, which has been a bit ridiculous. And again, a lot of people, even if you just looked at the items before the patch, were spotting that Hydra was going to be nuts before the patch even came out. So we overshot a bit with Hydra's overall stats, making it much more too efficient item for the gold that it costs. We're preserving its niche as a rush item for champions that like AD, but reducing the AoE damage and pulling out the Omnivamp from stacks that was really pushing this item over the edge. Yeah, the Omnivamp was insane. So the AoE Splash used to be 60% AD for melee champions and 30% AD for ranged. It's now becoming 50% to 25%. So it's a 10% nerf for melee, 5% nerf for ranged. But removing the Omnivamp. It no longer gives the incredible Omnivamp that it was offering pretty much every like normal AD top laner. And other champions. A lot of AD carries were rushing it as well. It was a bit of a problem. Sunfire is becoming cheaper in terms of the combined cost and total cost, but you're getting more health. So you're just getting more bang for your buck. Remember, Sunfire did get nerfed out of being a mythic item, so it's now just a standard health armor item for top lane, especially if you're lacking AoE wave clear, because it still does the burn mechanic on minions. So it's not too bad, but they're making it more cost effective. Let's get into the champion updates. So Amumu. The thing with Amumu, he's always going to struggle because he's a bit more basic, and I actually kind of like his support power as being cool. But I guess what they're saying here is that the jungle changes hurt him, but obviously they're going to try and shift his power to cover the weaknesses without buffing his already strong support. What I like is they're not affecting the support. I do actually think Amumu belongs in support nowadays. In modern day League, I think he's actually pretty good there. But the health growth is going up. Bandage Toss mana cost is going up. W Despair damage per second, I'd imagine, is going to go up. Yes, it is. So targets maximum HP is going to do more burn damage, which is nice. And the tantrum damage probably up again. Yeah, it's getting more damage. Less in the early game, but better for scaling. So there's that. Not really going to help him in terms of jungle, though. Cho'Gath. I haven't seen too much Cho'Gath. I've played it once in preseason. Didn't feel terrible, but didn't feel great either. So, yeah. The mana restored on enemy kills. He's getting more mana for lane phase, which is always a nice thing. The base damage of his Feral Scream W is going up, and his Feast cooldown is very nicely coming down. So that's pretty nice for Cho'Gath. Mundo. So, a lot of changes for Mundo. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's a lot. But ultimately, hasn't been living up to his unkillable late game fantasy lately. So the good doctor has received some treatment in order to keep him out. Help him out. We've made a bunch of changes to Mundo's medical tools, but the biggest changes were to his heart stopper and maximum dosage, which have been adjusted to be significantly stronger in the late game. So the idea is, in late game, he should be really hard to kill. And I will say, I have had a game against a Mundo that was very hard to kill in late game, and they're just making him even harder to kill in late game. So I have no idea. Like, the weird thing to me, and let me know what you guys think. Reddit seems to not think tanks are very strong. Riot doesn't think tanks are very strong. But in my own games, I've even played tanks, and I've felt very strong. Like, you know, and I'm not saying tanks are stronger than, you know, Fiora that can have Ravenous Hydra and she's a tank killer. Stuff like that. Fair enough. They are very strong. The AD fighters, very, very strong. But I don't, you know, and it's not even that I'm always playing against tanks and I go, oh, they're OP. I've played tanks myself and I've felt strong. So I don't really get why they're so weak, because they don't feel weak to me. Let me know what you guys think anyway. One I will say does feel weak is K'Sante. The thing that they need to give K'Sante, and it doesn't even look like they're doing, and I've said it since the beginning, is damage. That's actually the weird thing they need to give him. He is tanky, you know, when he's not in his ultimate, but ultimately, there is practically no reason, and there is a couple, but there's practically no reason you'd pick K'Sante over Ornn or Sion, because both of those other two tanks are potentially even tankier than K'Sante, and both of them deal more damage. The only positive that K'Sante gives over those two is he can isolate one enemy that might be a problem in a team fight and drag them by himself and try to like sacrifice himself for the greater good. He can do that, but they're not buffing his damage by the look of it. So without damage buffs, I just don't see him being proper. Kassadin, Q-based shield increased, shield AP scaling decrease, E adjusted. We're giving Kassadin some quality of life updates to his shield so he can perform better into ranged matchups. Again, Kassadin is one of probably League's easiest champions if you know what you're doing. And that's probably maybe sometimes where I'm a bit out of sync with the average League person. When I see a Kassadin in a master level game, I'm worried because it's Kassadin. If you're playing in gold with a Kassadin, maybe he's not as scary. But in master level games, he's very scary because that master level player that plays Kassadin knows what they're doing, and they will get to a point that they will just murder your face. That's the point. That's what Kassadin can do. That's why he's called Kassadin. So, what are they doing? Shield strength is going up by base, less AP scaling though. But then shield is granted when the Q projectile leaves. It's now shield is granted when he casts it. So it's an immediate shield when he casts the spell, not when the Q ball leaves his hand. And then it's E, which is his wave clear, which is what a lot of mages, what a lot of Kassadins actually max. It was a 5-second cooldown. It's now going to a mad cooldown of 21 seconds at level rank 1, down to a 13. They've removed, though, the spell no longer requires a certain... no longer requires stacks to be cast. And also, the new thing is ally and enemy spells cast nearby reduces his E cooldown by 1 second. So he can get it back really quickly, but it's a long cooldown in the early game. but you can use it anytime. You don't have to wait till a certain amount of abilities to cast. So it's again, that is what you'd call like an update, not technically a nerf, not technically a buff. It's different. We'll have to see how that goes. Kayn, a champion that is always going to be hard to balance, especially when you've got basically 2 champions in one. And with modern day League being the kind of weirdness that it is, you know, before you'd have Shadow Kayn had to take Dark Harvest or Electrocute or Hail of Blades, and you know, Red Kayn had to take Conqueror. It isn't the case anymore. I've seen so many Shadow Kains go Conqueror. I've even seen Red Kains go Dark Harvest. It seems a little bit iggledy-piggledy messy at the moment, and that's always going to be hard to balance because it's not like the easy way to balance Kayn is when you can separate him basically into 2 champions, but they kind of seem a little bit over each other at the moment. But this seems to be a passive just to his blue form. So Shadow Assassin bonus damage, yay, more damage, is going up. And the Shadow Step heal upon entering terrain, he's getting more healing for the AD that he has. So buffs to Shadow Kayn. Yay! Lilia, definitely one of the winners of preseason from what I could tell. Changing her to a melee champion actually gave her some more synergies with like Demonic Embrace, Conquer and stuff like that. So it really helped her in many, many ways. A bit too much. Incredibly tanky with the demonic build that Riot just seem, again, they're not nerfing it, so they must be fine with it. Everybody's buying, you know, for AP champions, they buy demonic and a tank item, and they do a lot of damage with being tanky. And then the AD equivalent is buying Blade the Ruin King with a tank item, and again, they do a lot of damage but tanky. Riot has had ample opportunity to nerf both of those builds, and they just don't. They're fine with it, which is a bit weird. I'm not really sure why, but it is what it is. So the Q magic damage is going up in the early, but then down from level rank 3 onwards. And then the outer edge, which does true damage, is also being the same thing. A little bit of a damage buff at rank 1, same at rank 2, but then starting to be a nerf slightly at rank 3 onwards. Probably still going to be really strong, though. Malphite. Don't see too many Malphites. The thing with Malphite, hilariously, and you know what I said, and you know, there's technically a one trick out there for everywhere, for everybody, or every champ. But Malphite is predominantly an autofill champion. He's not really a main champion. Although, like I said, even recently, we did see that Malphite one trick that was really bad. He built full AP Malphite, so literally the power fantasy of Malphite of why he's so strong, he isn't even doing that. And that guy, ooh, he wasn't good. So what are they doing here? So the Ground Slam, his AoE is going up by base damage, and the mana cost is being equalized to 50 of all ranks. So that's just a nice quality of life change for Malphite. And what they're clearly doing, as you can see here, is they're adding Wave Clear back to his kit, that will reward tank builds without making his AP build obnoxious. Maokai, passive heal increased, Q base damage increased, and damage to monsters increased. So they're trying to put him back in the jungle by the looks of it. We'll see how that goes. Probably not very well. He's too slow. Mordekaiser, again, one of the winners of preseason becoming a jungler. So yeah, being a big winner of patch 12.22. Thanks to the passive, which is his AoE obviously clear. We're dialing the passive down by reducing the base damage to monsters and making it specific to large monsters so it functions similarly in the jungle as it does in top lane. So the damage cap to monsters was 180. It's now 28 to 164 based on his level. And by the way, I believe it didn't have a minimum before, when now it has a minimum based on, or a maximum based on your level. So at level 1, he only will be doing 28 damage to monsters, rather than the old, I believe, 180 max. So that is quite a big nerf, but he does get, oh, wow, okay. So now he only gets his passive proc on monsters, but are large monsters. So that's going to slow his wave clear down, or jungle clear down, a lot. Wow, interesting. Shyvana has been blazing through the new jungle thanks to the preseason changes. Again, kind of goes with the demonic and tank build. So they're just making her empowered basic attacks versus marked enemies do less damage, because she gets incredibly tanky with also doing a lot of damage. So 0.5% of target's maximum HP less. Scion. Now, again, this one confuses me. It kind of goes back to what I said earlier. I've played Scion now twice in preseason, and I felt like a god. Like, Scion is... I'm not trying to say it to be funny. He is one of League's easiest champions. He's also one of League's most forgiving champions. There's obviously very famous Scion players out there that are known for dying a lot, but then end up absolutely carrying the late game because he is quite forgiving. You just focus on scaling no matter what. You can die 20 times in lane phase, but focus on scaling, and you will potentially win the game for your team. It's very forgiving, and they're buffing it. I've played Scion twice. I felt really strong while I was doing it. I was killing people. I was very tanky, split pushing, taking towers away. So much this champion can do, and they're buffing it. So again, the reason why I do worry about them, you know, the modern balance team is the modern balance team is quite known for not really playing the game, and they go off data a lot. Sion's data is mostly always going to be skewed because his win rate is always going to be bad, because there are a lot of people out there that just do the full AD build, and that's way more volatile, and that'll be bringing down his win rate dramatically. The actual tank build of Sion is a lot stronger. I think even, obviously, the Sion player, the Baus FFS, he even admits that. The AD build is more fun to play in some aspects, but if you just play a tank Sion, he's always been pretty damn strong. But I don't know. And obviously, it is worth knowing, yes, he has counters because he's a very basic champion, but other basic champions have counters too. Fiora should annihilate a Sion. That's a natural counter. There's nothing bad with that. That's what it should be. But yeah, some people have problems with that, I guess. Base mana is going dramatically up. Mana growth is also going dramatically up. And he's doing more base damage for his Q. Which I don't know, is this just for like the tappy one? Because obviously Sion has like his Q scales with how long you're holding it down. It's either just a tap or there's the full smash, but there's also the in-between. So this is a bit weird that it's not saying... Because the base damage changes, doesn't it? Depending how long you're holding it down. So I'm not really sure with that, but it's obviously definitely a buff. 10 damage buff per rank. Syndra. Oh, they're nerfing Syndra. Upgraded W bonus damage decreased. AP scaling, though, increased. And E AP ratio decreased. And cooldown increased. Q bug fix. So the W transcended upgrade bonus damage was 15%. It's now 12%. But you're getting more... an extra 2% per 100 AP, not 1.5. So maybe eventually in late game, this will kind of be about the same. And then your E scatter the weak. Cooldown is going up by 2 seconds. And it's doing less damage because it's 10% AP ratio. So she was basically potentially just doing too much damage, which is interesting. And then the Q has been bug fixed. Tam Kench. Oh, a lot. They're doing a lot with tanks, aren't they? Jesus. Passive AP damage added. Q AP ratio Wait, what are they just adding? They're just adding AP ratios. Honestly, I don't really care about a cheese AP Tam build, if I'm completely honest. Trundle. Base attack speed reduced and odd damage decreased. Again, in theory, with everybody building tanky items, Trundle could do well. But Trundle benefited a bit too much from preseason jungle changes, especially now that tanks are seeing a lot more play. Yeah. So base attack speed is going down to slow him down, and his ultimate, which is about stealing stuff, base damage based on target's maximum health, they are just nerfing that. Oh, they're nerfing it quite a bit, actually. They're nerfing it at rank 2 by 2.5%, but then 5% nerf at rank 3. That is quite a big nerf. Oh, Yumi. Passive cooldown increased. Root duration. Why is there such a big text? Let's see. Ooh. We've started to work on a larger scale Yumi rework to help this cat land in a much healthier spot. But if they don't change one fundamental thing, it's irrelevant. We want to highlight Yumi as an attached, untargetable enchanter can provide their team. Saying that doesn't work. You cannot do a rework for this champion trying to make her healthy by keeping her attached, that she doesn't have to move for herself, and untargetable. That's fundamentally one of the biggest issues with the biggest issue with the champion. My suggestion, and I've said it many times before, if you double CC the target the Yumi is attached to, she should get bumped off, because then in essence you're using two forms of CC that you may have spread to two different champions, but you can't because there's only one. So for example, if you're playing in bot lane and there's a Taric and a Varus, and you're going to CC both of them, you need to use, most of the time, one CC spell for Taric, one CC spell for Varus. If you're against a Yumi with an Ashe, you only can hit the Ashe. So if you put one CC on the Ashe, and while she is still CC'd, hit her again with another form of CC, then Yumi should pop off. That would be my suggestion of how to make it less annoying. Because it is stupidly annoying. Yumi, by Riot's own words, and I saw a Reddit thread of it recently, there was a guy and he was quite brave. He did a thread going, I'm a Yumi main, you know, get your laughs in. But Riot doesn't understand the problem of how they need to fix Yumi. And it's true. Yumi is, and Riot even, there was a Rioter that replied and basically admitted, yeah, she's for new players who people want to get their friend into the game. They've never played a MOBA before, so they're going to be bad at positioning. Play Yumi. That is what Yumi's for. She is the boosting champion of League. Get your friend in, get to a rank, whatever they want. Use Yumi. That is what Yumi is. And fundamentally, that's always going to be unhealthy in her current design. So it'll be interesting to me what she will become, but she's probably always going to be bad. Because if they keep the locked up, like she's attached and she's untargetable, it's always going to be unhealthy. But what I will say, the guy on the Reddit thread said, and fair enough to him, he's like, they are rewarding the AFK playstyle too much and not rewarding the active Yumi playstyle as much. And, you know, there's not many active Yumi players. Most of them are the AFK playstyle. But you should give more to the passive, or she should do more, like, do more damage or more healing or something when she's not attached. Reward people for not just staying on one target forever and never not attaching. And obviously, her frustrating thing, obviously just leaves bot lane at like level 4 and attaches to your jungler. That's really annoying to play with a Yumi if you're the AD carry. Just not great. So what are they saying? As an early goal, we want to limit her aggressive CC outputs and damage, emphasize more defensive enchanter outputs, reduce her scaling, and make her more dependent on her own lane success to win games. Yeah, not just abandoning the AD carry. We'll have some more news to share on this in the future, but for now, we appreciate your patience as we work on Yumi. Like, hell, I wouldn't even mind, and I know I'm the obvious for saying this, make Yumi not playable until she's actually healthy. And I know obviously you could technically do that by using every single ban just on Yumi, and players do that, but yeah, she just isn't great. And it's what I've said before, and it's ultimately, I will say, no games company wants to, and Riot definitely is true of this fact. They have got over 160 characters now in the game. Some characters are good, some characters aren't as good, but you're also in just life going to have some failures or some bad ideas. And I think of me playing this game since the beginning, and I don't like some champions here or there. Some have their problems, like Yone or Viego. Ultimately, I can live with a lot of the champions that are in the game, even the new ones. But Yumi, to me, is a mistake. Like, that is the best way to describe Yumi. She should not have been made in this form. That's the problem. And I just wish Riot, and you know, they are admitting it. They are admitting it by doing a larger scale Yumi rework. That's them admitting it. But what would be healthier is just take her away and then release a fix. Like Hextech Dragon, look what they did there. It was bad. It was a bad decision. It was a mistake. So they took it away, and then in preseason, hey, it's back. That's what they should probably do for Yumi, but they're probably never going to. Zac, passive healing increased, Q cooldown decreased, and health scaling increased. So not too bad. Giving him a bit of more damage and healing. Not too bad at all. Zary, oh, this champion. All abilities adjusted. I will say I played Zary earlier today. It will be a video in about a week's time because I'm a bit ahead in content right now. Ooh, she didn't feel too strong. I will say that. Basically, what they've done and what they're doing is they're turning Zary back into, well, reading what they're doing here. They can't make up their mind with Zary. And this is one of the fundamental problems with new champions in League, is they give them way too many abilities. They give them way too much stuff. Then they don't know what direction to take the champion. With Zary, you either have her primary way of playing her and how she was designed, and like how I think Riot August wanted her. She is a high skill, low burst damage, high DPS champion. The problem with that is the average League player will never be good at Zary, because you need to be insanely good movement, never get caught in order to do damage. And you could just do that job much easier playing Kai'Sa. That's the problem. Where obviously her easy play style was the W building AP that would half health crit everybody with W. And you're like, well, that was great. That was obviously just unhealthy. So what they look like they're doing here, again, I'm not going to go through all of these changes because there's a lot of them. But fundamentally, we're shifting Zary's playstyle by shortening her range so that she has to get up close and personal to make sparks fly and opponents die. This comes with revamped base stats, a higher damage burst fire, and adjusted spark surge. So even though Zary is being amped up, opponents should now have more opportunities to catch lightning before she bolts to safety. So it's basically they're adding her risk reward up. She's going to be lower range, so in theory easier to get to, but she'll do more damage when she's nearby. So I'm kind of okay with that. That is, again, it's a high skill playstyle, and unless it's not, if it's broken, then it won't be. But we'll see how it goes. Jungle companions. So they're just doing some changes over to here. Jungle camps, objective planning. Oh, scoreboard voting disabled, huh? So most of the communication tools that we've added in the past cater towards conveying personal intent, the ability to describe what you and you alone plan on doing. We introduced objective planning as a way for people to build alignment across the team. So when you click on Dragon, it puts a vote up. Yeah, it kind of seems a bit useless. So far, we've seen that objective planning is allowing players to better align around whether or not to take an objective as a team. However, there are some situations in which the vote is showing up too frequently or at irrelevant moments. Yeah, when it comes to objective planning, we want to make sure that we're showing irrelevant information to players that can help them make better decisions at the right time. We want players to be able to communicate their intent clearly, whether it's being ready and prioritizing for objectives or actually using the tool for alignment. But now we're making some changes. So, scoreboard voting disabled. Clicking on the objective timer will no longer initiate objective voting and will instead just display the timer information in chat. Vote timing adjusted the earliest time players can start voting on objective from 90 seconds before an objective spawns to 75. And auto vote disabled. The vote to contest an objective will no longer automatically begin 30 seconds before an objective spawns. So it's getting rid of the spam of it, which is interesting. Aram Clash, mythic content, a lot of new available things, and only 2 things leaving. Interesting. Oh, so in this mythic shop rotation, we'll have 2 unvaulted prestige skins, 2 mythic skins, and a new seasonal mythic with accessories, which I presume... What is it? So it won't be that, will it? Because that's not very seasonal. Maybe it is. I don't know. And competitive rune recommender will now be in, and pick order swapping is now available, and then champ select anonymity. We've heard feedback, the only difference the allies' names. Oh right, so yeah, instead of being ally 1 through 5, you're now being called Gromp, Merkwolf, Raptor, Krug, and Scuttlecrab. So instead of going yo ally 3, you can just go yo Raptor instead, which is a bit interesting. The Malzahar skin is coming. So end of season rewards, including the new Honor level 5 Mal skin, it will be granted. And the Aram AFK threshold has been changed to 120 to 120 seconds from 90 seconds. So they just think it wasn't as forgiving. Bit of ping changes here or there, but there we go. And then all the new skins that look pretty damn good, to be honest. Swain has had a lot of skins that I will say look quite similar to each other. But oh, that's it. There you go. It's that. Prestige Winterblessed Warwick is the Prestige holiday skin. So there we go. Not too bad. There are still things that I wish Riot would do. I'm never going to say Bork and the demonic build is healthy. They're not. I really do wish that they would nerf Bork and demonic embrace of the tank build so assassins can't do it. But they just seem to be fine with it. It is interesting to me, though, that Yumi is getting a update. But if they keep, as I said, if they keep fundamentally what she is, nothing's going to change. And the problem that I will say Riot faces, and you know, when I said they should just disable her, the reason why Riot can't is you now have a population of the League of Legends community who main Yumi. That is a problem. They can't position. So if you take Yumi away and they continue to play the game, it would be very bad. That's the problem. And Riot know it. They probably know it. It's a problem. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it. Preseason patch. The next patch should be the upcoming season. Just reminding everybody, we are still roughly a month away from the new season starting. I think it's either January the 4th or January the 7th or something like that. But I am looking forward to it. Obviously, we do have a ranked update happening, and that will be tomorrow's second video. I have already recorded it, but yeah, ranked is changing a little bit. Check out that video tomorrow if you want to look into that. But anyway, that's gonna be it. If you guys enjoyed, do throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Call down the